Hello, 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 ladies in waiting. It's 9 o'clock and it's time for our session, our ladies in waiting 7-day challenge. It's night 4. Could you believe it? We are at the halfway mark, and I want to congratulate you for not dropping out and you're sticking with the challenge. And I really want to push you and be your cheerleader. Stay to the end. You've committed to 7 days, and you need to tell yourself, I am going to see the end of this. If I don't get in on a live session, I'm going to get the replay and I'm going to do my assignments because I mean business. I'm serious. I want to be prepared and I want to be prepared well. So I'm seeing this to the end. So again, congratulations for making the halfway mark. If this is your first time, if it's your first night, you signed up, but it's your first chance you got to come on the live. Welcome. I am Giselle Aline Clement, your ladies in waiting coach. And our purpose for these 7 days is to strategically prepare you, to give you some tools in your arsenal so that as you prepare, you can prepare well. So I'll just wait a little while to see if I have anybody on the live tonight. Yes, I do. I see Juliet. Good night, Juliet. Thanks for coming on. I'll just wait a minute again or so to see if anybody else. Yes, Vanessa is here. Good night, Vanessa. Oh, Sylvina is here tonight. Good night, Sylvina. Thank you for coming on. And good night, good night. And so we are at day 4, as I said. Stacy is just popping on. Good night, Stacy. Welcome. And I really want to encourage you, go through the material, try to get a handle of it and ask questions. Don't think, oh, I'm afraid to ask questions. No, no, no. You ask your questions because what you put into these 7 days is what you will get out. And if you have a question, by all means ask. And you know what I've realized? Somebody else might have the same question. And so, hey, they will get their questions answered as well. So let me, in the remaining days, I want to see some more questions coming forth, and so that you will leave with some grounding, you will leave with some deeper understanding of how you can prepare well. So tonight our topic is developing character and competencies while you wait. Again, developing character and competencies while you wait. So tonight we'll deal with character. Tomorrow, Sunday, we'll deal with competencies. And so I want to jump right in and use all of my 30 minutes to get these nuggets to you. And so with developing character, God uses the single period to develop godly character. Again, God uses your single period to develop godly character. Doesn't matter if you've been single, you've been in this period for a long interrupted stretch, or you've been on again, off again, into single, back again. It doesn't matter. Your single period is to be used by God, and He uses it to develop your character. Remember, some nights ago we used the description that we are in the womb of God. And yes, while you're there, while you are in that holding position, remember, while we are in that incubation period, He's using this time to build godly character. And 3 things he does that feeds directly into character development. 1, God develops your ear. In this period, you learn to hear the voice of God. You learn to recognize the voice of God and how He speaks to you. the different ways he will speak to you. You become very, very aware when God is speaking you and giving you instructions. He uses this single period to develop your hearing, because you need to be able to hear the voice of God and hear him clearly without a doubt. And this is one thing that feeds into your character as a woman of God. Can you hear God and obey his instructions? Can you hear God and do what he says? The second thing, God develops your sight. He changes your vision. You see things differently. You operate from a different perspective because he changes the way you view things. So as he speaks to you, yeah, the way you once viewed something, you don't view it that way. I have a glass right here. And if I ask you to describe this glass, you probably would say it's clear, it's short, I don't know what other descriptors you would use. But having a different perspective, getting more information about the glass, you would use a different descriptor. And so it's the same thing. As God speaks to you and he develops your hearing, that impacts your seeing. You view things differently. You interpret things differently. You understand things differently. Your perspective changes. And the third thing he does that feeds directly into the development of godly character is your speech. After you begin to hear God and he changes your perspective, your speech inevitably lines up. You can't be speaking and saying the same things again. Your speech becomes aligned with the word of God because you now become God's mouthpiece. Hearing, seeing, speech. Key things in the development of godly character. And it's in this period that your priority should be developing your godly character. I want to ask you a question. Good night, Jillian. I'm just seeing you here. Thanks for coming on. Good night, good night. Good night, Joanna. Welcome. Venetia, good night, good night. Welcome. Let me ask a question. And you don't have to answer, just think about it. What have you asked God for? What type of man have you asked God to send to you? And I'll just pause a bit while you think. And so I don't expect you to say, well, God, I just want a man, he could come anyhow, I don't care. No, 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 no. When you are buying a car, you don't go and say to the dealership, give me anything. You have your specific criteria. You know the color, you know the make, etc., etc., etc. And I know as ladies in waiting, you don't have to fool me. We ask God specifically for what we want. But I want to push your perspective a little bit. So you have asked God for what you want. In your asking, have you asked him about the character of the person you want? Have you specified, God, I want this man to be X, I want this man to be Y, I want this man to be Z? Some of you might be saying, well, yeah, Giselle, I have, yep, I have. Okay, good. But do you know that the character that you want to see in that man of God, you must first possess? I'll say that again. Do you know what you've asked for? The specifics, the character that you want to see in this man God will send to you, you must first possess? You see, godly character attracts godly character. And so if you're not using this time to develop your godly character, it stands to reason, or it stands to question, what will you be attracting? Would it be godly character? You know, I've been saying from day one of this challenge, I want you to think. You're going to be doing things a little differently this time. So I want you to think. Godly character attracts godly character. So if I am not developing my godly character, that's the magnet, what will I be attracting into my life? You know, it's become a buzz phrase around, you know, God send my Boaz. I'm waiting on my Boaz. Have any of you used that phrase? Could I see some responses? Don't be ashamed. I'm not criticizing you. I have used it in the past. I'm waiting on my Boaz. Anybody brave enough to say, yes, I've used that phrase? I'll give a half a second to see if I have any brave soul who will admit that they have used that phrase. God, send me my Boaz. Boaz is around the corner. I want my Boaz, my Boaz, my Boaz. And nothing is wrong necessarily with using that and making that request of God, because I think the concept and the thinking, it's heading in the right direction. But we go a bit off course, and I'll explain why. Who was Boaz? We are familiar with this story. Boaz is the gentleman who eventually marries Ruth, yes? And so Boaz is used as an example, as the standard for the man. Okay, yes, Sylvina, you all got me frightened there. One person admits I've used that term. Thanks, Sylvina. Thank you, thank you. So, as I was saying, Boaz is used usually as the standard for what we want. And when we're talking about what we want from God, the type of man we want, we usually use Boaz as the standard. And so let's look quickly at some of the characteristics of Boaz as described in the Bible. Boaz is seen as a worthy man. He is seen as a man of good reputation. He is seen as a man of integrity. He is very observant. Boaz is described as being compassionate. He is also described as being generous. And these are just some of the descriptors used to describe Boaz. So remember, I just said that good character, godly character attracts godly character. And so if in your mind you have used Boaz as the standard bearer for the type of godly man you want, these are some of the characteristics that is attached with a Boaz. He's a man of good reputation. He's a man of integrity. He's observant. He's compassionate. He's generous. He's worthy. He's a man of good standing. Boaz is also described as a man, he's known in the gates, yes? And in those days, the gates, that's where they did all their business transactions, yes? So he's a reputable man. He's a man of high standing in the society. So if you are using that as a kind of guide for the man that you want, and godly character attracts godly character, again, I have to ask, and I have had to ask myself, do I possess the requisite character that would parallel a Boaz? Am I a woman of good reputation? Am I a woman of integrity? Am I generous? Am I compassionate? Am I a woman of good standing, of good report in the community? If they ask about me, do you know Giselle? What will the report be about me? So I hope you see where I'm heading with this. Some of you might have even used, Lord, I want a David, I want a worshiper, a man after God's own heart, etc., etc. The same applies. Do you have the parallel characteristics that will support and stand with equally a David? Or if you're here tonight and you say, well, Giselle, I haven't really used these descriptors. I just really said, God, I want an upstanding man. Even if you have just said that, what is an upstanding man? Upstanding, standing up, standing tall. Can you parallel an upstanding man? Do you have the innate characteristics to support and stand shoulder to shoulder with an upstanding man? And so tonight, my sole job here is to encourage you. Pay attention to character development. Pay attention to what you want in that man of God, that you can parallel that equally. Let's look at Ruth. So you heard some of the characteristics of Boaz. Ruth was also described in the following way. She was content. When she came back to Bethlehem and she started to glean in the field, whatever was her portion, she was content. She was loyal. This was one of the first things that came out of Boaz's mouth when he said, I've heard what you did for your mother-in-law after the death of her husband and your husband. He recognized Ruth's loyalty. Again, what did I just say? Good character attracts good character. Good character recognizes good character. Can that man of God, when he comes, when God releases him, can he recognize good character in you as Boaz recognized good character in Ruth? He recognized Ruth's loyalty. He recognized that she was selfless. Ruth was a young girl. She didn't have to come back with Naomi. Ruth was also very industrious. Ruth was kind to Naomi. And Ruth was also described as being a woman of integrity. So again, parallel characteristics here. Good character on Boaz. Good character on Ruth's side. Good character attracts good character. Good character recognizes good character. Are you developing your good character in your season of singleness? Sometimes the season of singleness is described as a wilderness experience. And we know what a wilderness is: a dry place, an arid place, a parched place, a place with no water, no food readily. A hard place, a rocky place, sun, hot, yeah? But even in this wilderness experience, we see God using this experience to work, massage on our character. And one example we have in the Bible, we know the story of Hagar. That's Abraham's concubine, the mother of Ishmael. And when he sent her away into the wilderness, we saw that God himself became Hagar's provision, and God himself became Hagar's protection. And in that period, Hagar developed some character. She had to learn to trust God for provision, trust God for protection. She also had to do the three things I mentioned in the beginning. She had to learn how to hear God, how to see his provision, and in the end of that account, her speech changed about God. And so while your period of singleness may sometimes feel as if it's a wilderness experience, God is still using that for his purpose. And what's that purpose? Developing your godly character. There's a technique I want to end with tonight, and it's called personal character self-assessment. It's a self-assessment technique. And so when I'm talking with young ladies, I always advocate that you take the time to do a personal self-assessment. And what's the purpose of it? You're going to recognize your strengths in terms of what are your strong character points. I'm not saying that we don't have any, but we have to learn to assess what we have, and we have to know where we need improvement. So right now you should be going through your mind, okay, what are my strong character points? Am I loyal? Can I be described as being a woman of integrity? So you're going to recognize your strong character points, but you're also going to recognize your weak character points. Remember, it's an assessment, so you're not going to look at the good things only, because that wouldn't serve you any real purpose. Character development. And so you need to also be honest and say, these are my weak areas. These are my what the term we use, my character flaws. There are gaps in my character in these areas. And if the man that God has intended for me comes right now, he's going to see those areas. You need to be honest. You know them. You know yourself, and identify them. You then have to prioritize, okay, how am I going to address these flaws? And then on the opposite end, these are my good areas, these are my good points. Can I improve on them? Because we never arrive. There is always room for continual improvement. Yeah? And so the whole point again of this assessment will be to improve on existing character strengths and deal with existing character flaws. And then you have to understand how you're going to apply them now into your overall presentation of who Amelia is, of who Venetia is, of who Jillian is. This is who I am. So when people recognize you, they can speak of you in XYZ way, because that is what they are going to see. That is what you will now be presenting to them. In this period of singleness, yes, we can get caught up on the type of man that we want. But I really want to encourage you as we end tonight, switch it, flip it, and be more concerned with becoming the right woman by developing the right characteristics than finding that man. Because believe you me, once those things are in place, godly character will act as a magnet and attract godly character. I am not going to ask you to put in the comments what are your flaws and what are your strong points. That's for you to do. You join this challenge because you mean business. You join this challenge because, okay, I've done some of these things, but I want to get a different perspective. I want a little more information on how I could improve my preparation. So you're here. So you need to do the work now. Yeah? Godly character attracts godly character. And so you need to be more concerned with becoming the right woman rather than finding the right man. So tonight, as you get ready for bed or whatever you have to do, I really want you to spend some time and just think and be honest with you. We started with looking at the mirror. I hope you're seeing the connections. It's about you. This is preparation. Yeah? So good night. Thank you for coming on. Again, don't drop out. See this through till day 7. Tomorrow we will be speaking about competencies, developing competencies as you wait. Have a good night, everyone. And until tomorrow, stay blessed. Bye.